Want to get started with this? A lot of people saw this fire burning. HFD has been battling a blaze there at Round Top Drive today. According to police, the fire was large but hasn't touched any structures. As of right now, HFD has not released any further details. We'll stay on top of this story, bring you the latest on your H&N digital platforms and on later editions of H&N.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for watching. This is Now. We're actually tracking another fire as well. This one in Waianae on Waianae Valley Road. We'll bring you any new details as we get those, but we're told that one is being classified as an arson. Now, let's take you live to Las Vegas. If you're planning a trip to the 9th Island or any destination, you may want to listen up. So according to AAA averages, this morning, gas prices in Honolulu were at $4.85. And the soaring prices come as many American families are planning spring break getaways, and experts say it may actually be a sneak peek of what's to come this summer. Tom Costello has more.
For families leaving for spring break, prepare for the squeeze. Post-pandemic, the crowds are back, pushing prices higher, just as the Russian invasion has sent gas prices to record levels. A year ago, a 500-mile road trip would cost about $70 in gas. This year, it's averaging about $108, and much more in California.
Can you get me a loan?
It was over $50.
Rental cars averaging $80 more each day than last year. Hotels up 30% in a year. Meanwhile, domestic airfares are back to where they were before the pandemic. $300 on average, but with the cost of jet fuel also surging, summer airline tickets could get more expensive. So book now. Flying on June 1st, New York to Phoenix is averaging $270 now, Kansas City to Las Vegas $244. But European travel bookings have dropped as the war in Ukraine rages.
They are still interested in traveling. That demand hasn't disappeared. It's simply shifted back towards a bit closer in destinations.
Flying to London is now averaging $558 for June 1st. Madrid, $713. Paris, $828. Wherever you go, expect to pay more for entertainment and eating out.
I think a lot of people may opt for more of a staycation or more of a regional trip.
If you haven't booked your summer vacation yet, experts recommend comparison shopping now. Second choice destinations and hotels may help save the family some money.
And this travel update to pass along, Southwest Airlines is adjusting its Aloha State schedule to reflect demand deficiencies. In the peak summer period from June to September, we've learned Southwest will not run San Diego flights to Kona, Kahului, and the Garden Isle.
Now, the rise in gas prices and the unsettled stock market are linked to the war in Ukraine. We want to bring in now Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent, John Decker. Always good to see you, John. Now, President Biden announced that there is going to be a ban on Russian imports of oil, but has he secured any alternative sources to make up for it?
As of now, Ashley, he has not, and there have been a lot of efforts in that regard. Last week, a very high-level team from the State Department traveled to Venezuela. The idea here is that Venezuelan oil could replace the Russian oil, which has now been banned from being imported to the U.S. No deal has been struck, and there have been a bipartisan group of lawmakers who are very much against that because of the Maduro regime that's in place in Venezuela and the sanctions which are in place against Venezuela. The other alternative source, OPEC. The president's reached out to Saudi Arabia. He's reached out to the United Arab Emirates. So far, the OPEC has not agreed to increase the supply of oil, which would go a long way to at least stabilizing rising gas prices, which we're seeing all across the country, including, of course, in Hawaii.
All right, and going back to the war, John, now, President Biden, is there global pressure on him to kind of step up the U.S.'s role in this conflict?
There's global pressure, Ashley. There's domestic pressure. The domestic pressure is in the form of a letter sent late last week, to President Biden. 40 Republican senators urging the administration to reverse course and provide fighter jets to the Ukrainian military. So far, the administration has decided not to do that. You may recall Poland offered some of the MiG jets that are in its inventory, and those MiGs that they would hand over to the Ukrainian military would be replaced by F-16 fighter jets, but the Pentagon nixed that deal. They said that they should have first run it by the U.S., that proposal, and secondly, they say it would not make much of a difference. But this past weekend, a bipartisan group of senators, Republicans, Democrats, traveled to Poland, and interestingly enough, you had Democrats also calling on the administration to do more to militarily help out the Ukrainian military during this onslaught from the Russian military that we've seen over the course of the past 2 weeks.
Right. And speaking of Congress, Ukraine's president is expected to address Congress. What is he going to say?
President Zelenskyy will address Congress. It'll be a virtual address, obviously. He is in Ukraine, in the capital city of Kyiv. But it's a message that he's already delivered publicly, and it's a message that he delivered in just the past 7 days to the House of Commons in the UK. That message is tighter sanctions need to be imposed upon the Russian government of Vladimir Putin, number one, and number two, asking for more help militarily. That's, I think, what we're likely to hear from President Zelenskyy when he addresses lawmakers on Wednesday.
Right, and there have been reports that China has been talking to Russia. I know U.S. national security officials are speaking to their counterparts in China. What are these discussions going on?
Well, this was a discussion that took place today. It took place in Rome. The National Security Advisor, Jake Sullivan, traveled to Rome from Washington to meet with his counterpart from China. And the message is one that's very clear. The message is it's okay, it's perfectly permissible if you want to try to prop up the Russian economy, which has been devastated by these sanctions. But the U.S. is warning China not to get involved militarily. There are reports that Russia asked for China's help militarily, specifically with drones being provided to the Russian military. And the U.S. message to China is stay on the sidelines as it relates to this war. And it's a message that I think will be heard loud and clear by China, in that China has a huge trade surplus with the U.S. They do not want to risk that in any way. If anything, it's the U.S. that's propping up the Chinese economy and has been propping up the Chinese economy for quite some time.
All right, Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent, John Decker. Always great to see you, John. Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley. Have a good day.
You too.
All right, joining us now here on This Is Now is Lori Moylan with Meta. Lori, I wanted to continue our coverage of everything that's going on in Ukraine with you. Can you let us know how Meta's, everyone knows as Facebook as well, platforms are helping in the humanitarian aid efforts there?
Sure. So it's really rewarding, and we're really grateful to be able to see people using our services to help the people in need in Ukraine. Right now we see Facebook groups coming together from all over the world. We see nonprofits using our tools to organize. We see people organizing events to raise awareness and to raise funds and resources to go to the refugees in Ukraine. Our platform has a lot to offer for people who want to help in this situation right now, and we're very grateful to see people using it.
Can you give me some specific examples of what you've seen and how much money they've raised?
Sure. So far we've raised, our users have raised over $30 million to go towards aid in Ukraine just in the past couple of weeks alone. In addition, Meta Platforms, we are donating $15 million to aid and relief, $5 million actually directly to nonprofits, and another $10 million in ad credits to nonprofits who are working in the region to try to bring the relief that's needed.
How can people get started with their own effort if they wanted to create some sort of page or platform using your platform? What do they need to do?
Sure. So first I would encourage people to look around at the nonprofits and things that are already working. There's a lot, in local areas, people coming together and raising funds. If you want to start something on your own, you can use our fundraising tools, and you can have the money directed. You can ask your friends and family to donate money and direct that money to a nonprofit of your choice that's working in Ukraine. Also, it's very easy to organize an event or set up a page where you can maybe highlight all of the things that are going on in your area to support the people in Ukraine. If that's a good way to help. There's lots of different ways to do it, and so we would definitely encourage more users to get involved.
Lori, thanks so much for your time and information. We're going to toss it back over to Ashley with more news.
Outdated software, delayed alerts, and poor communication to the public. Those are just some of the major problems facing the country's tsunami warning system. Sammy Solina has more.
The report is from a panel of tsunami experts that advises the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. It says our country's warning system needs a major overhaul and that there is an urgent need for action. According to the Washington Post, at least 30 reported tsunamis have caused at least one death or $1 million in damage since 2018. The report says the most pressing matters involve the two warning centers in Honolulu and in Palmer, Alaska. It says extensive changes are needed to ensure accurate and concise warnings, that outdated software and poor communications limit improving the warning process. Scientists say that those two centers operate separately on their own and might interpret the same event differently. One scientist said the Tonga volcanic eruption in January exposed flaws in the system when Hawaii and the West Coast advisories were issued relatively late. They say that there are talented scientists and staff members at these stations, but they're working with outdated tools. NOAA's administration has 1 year to respond to the recommended changes. This morning, NOAA said that they thank the panel for their diligence and careful attention to this important topic, and that they will give the report the attention and follow-up that it so well deserves. Sammy Solina, Hawaii News Now.
Now to the Hawaii Loa Ridge murder case. One of the suspects has allegedly confessed to the crime. A warning, the details you're about to hear in this story are very graphic. According to court documents, 23-year-old Juan Theodore Barron admitted that he killed his lover, 73-year-old Gary Ruby, after Ruby allegedly told him he had HIV. Barron allegedly then choked him with a belt. Barron told police he then dragged the victim's body to a bathtub in the victim's home and used a kitchen knife to slit his wrist in an attempt to stage a suicide. Then he covered him with concrete. Barron was captured in Anaheim, California last Wednesday on a bus bound for Mexico. Authorities are working to bring him back to Hawaii. A second man, 34-year-old Scott Hannon, was arrested in California but was released after authorities said he was not involved with the murder.
Kai Johnson was looking for a friend and a possible relationship when someone responded to him on a dating app. That other man was Juan Theodore Barron. Johnson said he first met Barron about a month ago, and he said he also introduced his friends to Barron, who led them to believe that he and his parents were well off and that he was working as a creative financial advisor. Barron reportedly told the same lie to police, claiming to own an Audi as well as the $2 million luxury home. In reality, both belonged to the victim, Gary Ruby, and court documents say Barron forged papers to take them.
We met on Tinder. So a few weeks ago we started messaging on Tinder, and then we set up a date to go out, and then we met up at a bar. So he was saying that he lived out in Hawaii Kai with like his parents and stuff, and that he was working at some creative financial advisor here, and so we always thought that he had just had a good job, good money, because he was driving some Audi, like what, A6 or A8 or whatever, living in a nice house, and so we didn't think anything of it. But yeah, that was all lies, I guess. We met at a bar and stuff, but a few weeks went by, and we still hung out at bars or clubs, and he would come over to my house or we would go over to his house, and so yeah, we were hanging out extensively. So it's kind of like scary to know that I was sitting next to somebody who either had already done this or who had the potential of doing this. So yeah, no clue that he was ever like capable of anything like that.
Yeah, no red flags, no.
No, like he started annoying me and stuff, but that was just his personality. Like he was overbearing, and like he got a little too drunk and stuff, but nothing to red flag that kind of behavior. So yeah, every time we went to a bar or a club or anything like that, granted if he wasn't like already drunk and could do it, he was always buying our drinks, shots all the time, drinks all the time. He would always come up, "You want another drink?" "Yeah, sure." Like, and we never questioned it at all, because he led us to believe like he had a good job, and like he wanted friends, so he was happy like to take care of us and stuff. So we never questioned it. But yeah, he like almost every night he was asking us to like go out to bars and stuff, and he was the one like that was always paying for it. So
And it might have been.
It was probably the other, like the victim's card that he was using.
There's like a part of the house you couldn't go into?
Yeah, there was like one room that like we never tried to, but he was like, oh yeah, like that room's like always locked, you can't go into it. So I'm assuming like that was like the guy's room, or like, you know, their room together or whatever, because we didn't even know that there was a guy there. We thought it was his house. So yeah.
And we did get some breaking news just into our newsroom regarding this story. You know, Juan Barron did appear in court today in Los Angeles, and I'm being told by our assignment editor that that was for an extradition hearing, and he will be brought back to Hawaii. That was what was decided there in court this morning. All right, we got some more news to get to. Here's Ashley with that.
Police in New York City and Washington, D.C. are working with federal authorities to search for the suspect linked to multiple shootings of homeless people in both cities. Nancy Chen has the story, and we want to warn you, some of the images in her report are disturbing.
If you had any kind of interaction in these areas this morning, we strongly encourage you to please report it.
Authorities in New York City are offering a $10,000 reward to find this man, who they say is responsible for 2 shootings on Saturday morning that killed one homeless man and left another injured. The NYPD says the first victim, a 38-year-old Hispanic male, was sleeping on a corner when a person came up and shot him in the right arm. The victim then screamed at the suspect as he fled. The victim is recovering in the hospital. Less than 2 hours later, police say the same man, seen in this surveillance video, approached a second homeless man also sleeping on a lower Manhattan street just blocks away. The suspect lingers over the man, nudging him a few times before opening fire, striking the unidentified man in the head and neck. The victim was later pronounced dead at the scene. Those shootings came as the Metropolitan Police Department in Washington on Sunday alleged the suspect's attacks on homeless men started in their city. D.C. police say 3 homeless individuals were shot over a period of 6 days, starting March 3rd, one fatally. Yesterday, the mayors of both New York and Washington, D.C. released a joint statement urging all homeless persons to seek shelter as law enforcement works to track down what they call a cold-blooded killer on the loose, adding, "Our communities in D.C. and New York City are heartbroken and disturbed by these heinous crimes in which an individual has been targeting some of our most vulnerable residents." Last night, police in New York City found another deceased homeless man, this time in the Tribeca neighborhood. Police say that they had warned the victim earlier in the day that 2 homeless men had been attacked here in Lower Manhattan the previous night. It's not yet clear if his death is connected to the other incidents. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
And we have even more on that story on your H&N digital platforms. We have a story that was just published a short time ago regarding those cases. Taking you live outside right now, let's turn it over to Billy V, who's in for Guy Hoggy with the check of those waves.
Let's go ahead and take a look at the wave heights. North and west facing shores got a high surf advisory in effect. That's for all the way from Niihau to Molokai in the north shore of Maui, 14 to 18 feet on the north shore today. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. We're in a drier weather trend. We do have trade winds with us, 10 to 20 miles per hour today, and we've pretty much got them for most of the week. It's going to be nice weather for you. Get the latest at HawaiiNewsNow.com.
Thank you very much, Billy. Happy Pi Day to all. Happy Pi Day. Did you know it was Pi Day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, since you told us.
Yeah. 3.14, yeah. March 14th. It's the annual celebration for math geeks out there. Celebrating pi, which is the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Now that I did not remember from Algebra 1.
Yeah, that I needed to be refreshed. Yeah.
Did you know Albert Einstein was born on Pi Day? Yep, it's his birthday. But it also means this. You don't need to be a genius to figure out that Pi Day equals deals. And I'm going to run you through some right now. 7-Eleven is offering $3.14 pizza today if you're a 7 Rewards loyalty member. Round Table Pizza, which is one of my favorite corporate pizza chains. Just throwing out there. I love, love those cheesy sticks. They're offering a $3.14 personal pan cheese pizza. Moving on to another goodie. You can get a free pie with a purchase of $1 or more at McDonald's using their app. Amazon Prime members get $3.14 off a large cherry or apple pie at Whole Foods. And also some local restaurants.
My favorite one.
Yeah, this is a good deal. Yeah, TS Restaurants offers some specials for this pie day. A slice of hula pie.
Yum.
For $3.14. You know, that's like Duke's and Hula Grill.
Yeah.
Everyone loves those.
Yummy. We love her. Music legend Dolly Parton. She's bowing out of this year's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations. I know. So she was the only country star to make the ballot this year. And in recent years, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has nominated artists who aren't traditional rock artists, but have made major contributions to popular music like Dolly. So the other nominees this year include Eminem, A Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick. But Parton said in a statement on her social media today that she was extremely flattered and grateful to get the nomination, but she didn't want the votes to be split because of her. And she says she hopes she will be considered another day if she is ever, quote, worthy. Come on, Dolly. You're so worthy.
So humble.
I know. And speaking of music, the Rolling Stones are returning to the road in Europe this summer. So the 60 tour, which marks the legendary band's 6 decades in rock and roll, starts June 1st. Some stops on the jaunt: Madrid, Liverpool, Milan, Paris, and the Stones' hometown of London.
Sticking with the music theme, there's this disco dad that has gone so viral. Let's toss it over to Jeannie Mose with more on that in today's Good News Now.
An Arizona teenager is having a ball, a disco ball, discovering his disco dad. Aspiring musician Zach Montana got in his dad's truck and a CD came on.
What the? It's so good! It's disco, but it's so good!
And then he heard a familiar voice. Zach's dad used to tour with the band Boston, but this song was news to his son.
Oh my God! And he never released it! I'm so mad at him!
So Zach released it on TikTok, and father and son ended up on Jimmy Kimmel Live.
Why do you have a CD player in your car, by the way? Because I'm old.
70 years old, but William Curly Smith wasn't too old to perform Surrender to Me.
Come on, tell me, do you want to be loved? Wrap yourself around me like Steve
Performed it with his son and newly formed group, Fire City Funk. Fans raved online. That's a banger, and begged, please release this. Back in the late 70s, Smith said he couldn't get a record deal.
So I just put it on a shelf for 43 years, and every now and then I would listen to it and go, hey, that was pretty good.
So good, it's now on Spotify, streamed over 1 million times.
But it feels so right.
No one's feeling it more than his son. Disco Dad has circled back from the 70s. Oh, we surrender all right. Jeannie Mose, CNN.
So cute.
I know, Dad's adorable.
Yeah, that's a great little tune too. I agree. And I like disco.
Yeah.
No reason to make fun of disco. I really enjoy it. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday. Ashley's going to be back first at 4 on KHNL. Don't forget, we're podcasting all the time. Just search Hawaii News Now wherever you get those podcasts.
Aloha.